Every country needs an industrial policy. Countries like South Korea, India, Vietnam has grown very fast over the last few decades using a strong industrial policy. But Sri Lanka does not have one. As a political party, National People's Power has given hope for Sri Lanka to grow fast, to reach $45 billion worth of exports by the year of 2030, and also to achieve a 6.5% or more annual GDP growth rate. An industrial development policy will give a country the direction where it should head and what should it achieve over a long period of time. And it will also articulate the strategy of that country in competing with the global value chains. At the same time, it will give consistency to its investors, whether it's local or whether it's foreign. So it is very important. A country should have a very strong industrial policy that is enabled through an act. An industrial policy will enable us to allocate our resources, the limited resources Sri Lanka have, whether it's about our people, whether it's about our natural resources. How do we make it productive and ensure that we achieve the targets with the limited resources we have? And this is how other countries have grown. Even though we presented our policies before the presidential election, I know many of you have not explored it enough. This video will enable you to go through our industrial policy in a summarized way where I would introduce the key areas of the National People's Power industrial policy. Initially, it's about the classification of the industries. You would have heard about industries in the same manner over the last 40 years because neoliberal economics does not classify the industries. Here we are classifying industries as primary industries which are very important to the country in terms of food security, in terms of health, in terms of education. So if you are in industries which are providing these basic essentials for people, that is classified as primary and important industries. Then there are industries which give support to run our industries or our businesses, whether it's banking services, whether it's telco services, whether it's insurance services, whether it's freight services. So these are classified as support industries to support the main core value-adding industries. Then come the products and services which you produce for consumption, whether it's local consumption, whether it's export-oriented. All these industries is what that's going to generate value for Sri Lanka. And this is why we need a classification, because how we look at each of these classifications will be different in terms of providing state support, tax reforms, and also providing technology and entrepreneurship support. Whether you produce for local consumption or exports, you need to be competitive in the world. So this competitiveness can only be provided if a country is giving you a low-cost base. And our industry policy ensures that the government will do its best to ensure that you will have the lowest possible cost in energy, lowest possible cost in transportation, lowest possible cost in providing capital and also telecommunication. So there is a big play in our industrial policy to ensure that Sri Lanka remains cost competitive in terms of industrial inputs. We have been talking about ease of doing business, and this is very critical for industrialization. That is about the services provided by the state to industries. Whether it's your registration, whether it's your expansion, whether it's you getting the certifications, you need to have an efficient government service that will enable you to run fast as the world economy runs. Our industrial policy talks about one-stop shop where that you don't have to go from pillar to pillar, where the government will provide you with efficient service in taking your business forward. At the same time, the foreign services of the government has not worked in our favor. The international trade has not increased, where there are no KPIs for the people who represent Sri Lanka in other countries to improve trade. So these are two critical things that is being addressed in the industrial policy of NPP. In industrialization, tax policy plays a critical role. This is where it will incentivize each of the industries to grow fast and also to start businesses. Our tax policy in Sri Lanka does not have a basis of supporting these industries. Our input raw materials are taxed. Our SME sector is taxed. Our startups are taxed. And sometimes our capital expenditures does not have capital allowances for us to innovate. And our R&D expenditure is not being allowed to capitalize. So there are many tax reforms that need to be brought in terms of consumption and investment and also income taxes to ensure that our priority industries are thriving, and then you have a very clear, transparent tax policy to make your tax policy. So this is being addressed very much in our industrialization policy. Then it's about the skill. So we are very clear that Sri Lankan industries has not been supported by our education system. There's a huge gap between the demand for skill and what is the output. Therefore, this education policy of National People's Power is interconnected in providing the right skill that is required for the industries that which we are thriving. We've talked about IT and digital skills, which is not coming out of our schools. We talked about tourism, and the required skill is not coming out of our schools. We've been in apparel, required technicians are not coming out of the schools. At the same time, the globally demanded workforce is not created through our education system. So this is a paramount importance where our education system is merged with our industrialization needs, and that's been addressed in our policy as well. As you all know, we have passed 4 industrial revolutions and stepping into the 5th one, and Sri Lanka has missed all. In terms of taking our industries forward, the government should ensure that our industries have the benefits of Industry 4. So digital transformation and technological advancements for our industries are a key focus area in our industrial policy, where it would bring transparency, it would allow you to be more productive and also allow you to connect to global supply chain networks. And there are a lot of incentives that we have planned, and there is a lot of knowledge that will be shared and supported for your industry to transform into Industry 5.0. National People's Power is the only political party that has emphasized on research and development. This is a critical need for every industry. And Sri Lanka has not been invested in R&D, but you try to innovate in your own organization with your own funds, which is not working. So as a country, there is a research and development policy that is interconnected with industries, and also in terms of the technology that is needed for your certifications and approvals. The R&D units has to work together in Sri Lanka, whether it's universities or institutions that are established to give you R&D support will get interconnected and come under one policy for industrialization going forward. So this is another critical area this industrial policy would cover. I explained 7 key areas which is in our policy, but it's not going to end here. You can give your input in for policy formulation and also help us in implementation as well. So I invite you to work together with National People's Power. With the next government, we need to establish this industrial policy and ensure it's practically taking shape in the next 5 to 10 years. In Sri Lanka, achieving $45 billion worth of exports and also achieving a 6.5% above GDP growth rate. And this is where we would need your support to establish a strong National People's Power government in the upcoming parliamentary election.